Christmas week across North America, the greatest story I've ever told, and King of Kings, Ten Commandments, other biblical movies, Ben Hur, are either shown on major networks or are shown in families to celebrate the season. But this, what do you call Bible movie, the Bible in the beginning is probably just as good, if not better, than some of these productions. But because it didn't star the same amount of star power, some B-level stars and some former stars, including Ava Gardner and, of course, a young George C. Scott, it didn't really get the recognition it should have. I saw this in 1968, and let me tell you, it really holds up. Like if you're giving a Bible class, this is the movie you want to show. Now it's called again The Bible in the Beginning, and the Italian version La Bibbia, or the Bible. It's a 1966 religious epic film produced by the great Dino De Laurentiis, look at my big table, and directed by actor, producer, director, overall Canadian superstar John Huston. It recounts the first 22 chapters of the biblical book of Genesis, covering the stories from the creation and Adam and Eve to the binding of Isaac. Released by 20th Century Fox, the film's ensemble cast features Huston, Michael Parks, Richard Harris, Franco Nero, Stephen Boyd, of course, of Ben Hur fame, George C. Scott, Ava Gardner, Peter O'Toole, and Gabrielle Ferzetti. The screenplay was written by Christopher Fry, with uncredited contributions by, of all people, Orson Welles, Ivo Perilli, Jonathan Griffin, Mario Soldati, and Vittorio Bonicelli. Photographed by Giuseppe Rotunno in the very, very dramatic Dimension 150, a variant of the 70mm Todd AO format. The musical score, which was nominated for a Globe and an Oscar, was by the talented Japanese composer Toshiro Mizumi, with additional cues by an uncredited Ennio Morricone. Premiering in New York City on the 28th of September 1966, the film received general positive reviews from critics. The National Board of Review of Motion Pictures included the film in its top 10 of 66. De Laurentiis and Huston won the David D. Donatello Awards for Best Producer and Best Foreign Director, respectively. Now, Mizumi's score was nominated again for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe. The film was originally conceived as the first in a series of films retelling the entire Old Testament, but these sequels were never made. It was not that the movie didn't have good reception. I think, it would have took 5-10 years to be done. Now, the film begins with the creation. God, voiced by Huston, creates everything that exists, including the first man, Adam, played by Michael Parks, and the first woman, Eve, played by Ulla Bergerierd. Both live in the utopical Garden of Eden until a serpent convinces Eve to disobey God by eating a fruit from the tree of knowledge, and in turn, Eve convinces Adam to do the same. God punishes all three of them harshly and banishes Adam and Eve from the garden. They have two children, eventually Cain and Abel. When they are older, both make regular ritual sacrifices to God. God favors the sacrifice made by Abel, played by Franco Nero, as so Cain, Richard Harris, grows jealous and murders Abel and runs away. Adam and Eve mourn the loss of both their sons. Generations come to pass, and most of the descendants of Cain grow evil. God is displeased by his creation and intends to destroy it all via a global flood. He makes contact with a good man named Noah, played by Huston again, and commands him to build an ark in order to save himself from the flood, as well as his family and a pair of each animal of the world. Noah obeys, and after the ark is ready, everything in the world is covered by water, and every living thing outside the ark dies. The occupants of the ark survive the catastrophe. Noah's wife is only able to count the days inside. After a while, they find dry land again, and God promises never again to destroy his creation by water. This promise is symbolized by a rado. Now, the second part of the movie begins with a visual representation of Noah's descendants and a brief depiction of the story of the Tower of Babel, in which the king Nimrod, played by Boyd, defies God by ordering the construction of a colossal tower and firing an arrow from the top of it towards the sky. God responds by making people speak different languages from then on, making them disperse across the earth. Now, the remainder of the film tells the story of the patriarch Abraham, played by George C. Scott, who always wanted a child who could inherit his position. But his wife Sarah, Ava Gardner, is barren. Sarah offers her handyman Hagar, Zoe Salas, to bear Abraham's children instead. Hagar becomes pregnant with Ishmael, but God promises that Abraham will have another child with Sarah despite all, and that this child will be called Isaac and will inherit Abraham's position instead of Ishmael. Hagar and Sarah begin to grow resentful of each other. Now, the men of Abraham start quarreling with those of their nephew Lot, played by Gabriel Frazzetti, and so they agree to part ways. Lot decides to try and live with his family in the city of Sodom, but is full of sinners. Abraham receives the visit of three angels, all played by Peter O'Toole, who announces God's plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah by fire. Abraham intercedes for the Sodomites. Two of the angels go visit Lot, but ultimately decide to go ahead with destruction of the cities, only saving Lot's family if they flee the city without looking back. Lot's wife does look back, and she's turned into a pillar of salt. Time goes by, and at long last, the elderly Sarah gives birth to Isaac, as God predicted. Fearing that Ishmael might kill Isaac as Cain did Abel, she sends him along with his mother out in the desert. Hagar and her son almost die, but God ultimately calls to her while a water fountain springs miraculously from the sand, promising that a great image of men will come from Ishmael. God then instructs Abraham to kill Isaac as a sacrifice. Abraham is devastated but obeys and takes off towards the mountain Moriah along with Isaac in order to make the sacrifice there without telling his true intentions to him or his mother. In Moriah, as he prepares to sacrifice his son, God stopped Abraham's hand the last moment, telling him all of that was a test to see if Abraham would still obey God no matter what. Abraham and Isaac merely sacrificed a ram that was stuck in some nearby bushes. Now, Seven Arts Productions contributed 37% of the budget. Now, of course, that was the big combination of UA. Now, Ava Gardner, who was reluctant to at first play the part of Sarah, did sign on after Huston talked her into the role, accepting and later explained that Huston had more faith in me than I did myself. Now I'm glad I'm listening, for it's a challenging role and a very demanding one. I started as a young wife and aged through various periods, forcing me to adjust psychologically to each age. It is a complete departure for me and most intriguing. In this role, I must create a character, not just play one. Now, Anglo-Persian actress Zoe Salas, who was cast as Hagar, was originally known as Zoe Ishmael, until Huston decided that she changed her name because of its similarity to the name of Ishmael, the character's son. And the spelling of Zoe, Ishmael, and of course Ishmael, the recognized spelling Ishmael. Now, Ulla Bergard was an anthropology student living in Gothenburg, Sweden, when she was discovered by a talent scout who photographed her in a museum there and then promptly hired her to play Eve. In an interview for the Pittsburgh Press, she recalled the experience, saying, "I was especially surprised by the fact I started to work 4 days after signing a contract. Although I've always been interested in movies and the theater, I'd never seen an actual shooting, and it was all very exciting." Now, Huston originally considered Alec Guinness, who was unavailable, and Charlie Chaplin, who declined, for the part of Noah until he finally decided to play it himself. The film marks the debut of Italian actress Anna Orso, who portrays the role of Shem's wife. It has also introduced Franco Nero to American audiences. Nero, who was working as a film still photographer, was hired by Huston for the role of Abel to his Hands and Features. At the time, Nero could not speak English, and Huston gave him recordings of Shakespeare with which to study. Now, the scenes involving the Garden of Eden were shot at a small zoological garden in Rome instead of a beautiful place of trees, glades, and wildflowers, which had been demolished shortly before the shooting began. Birgit, who was cast as Eve, later recalled, Paradise was in fact an old botanical garden on the outskirts of Rome. Now, there were 5 reproductions of Noah's Ark built for the film. The largest reproduction, which stood on the back lot of the De Laurentiis Film Center, was 200 feet long, 64 feet wide, and 50 feet high. It was used for the long shot of Noah loading animals. The interior reproduction, which was one of the largest interior sets ever designed and constructed, was 150 feet long and 58 feet high, and had 3 decks divided into 100 pens, and a ramp that ran clear around the ark from top to bottom. The third reproduction was a skeleton ark, built for the scenes depicting Noah and his sons constructing it. The fourth reproduction was placed at the foot of a dam for the inundation sequences. After fifth reproduction was a miniature for the storm sequences. The cost of building the 5 reproductions was more than $1 million, or pretty well 16% of the budget. The building took months, and more than 500 workers were employed. The animals were delivered from a zoo in Germany, and the whole segment of Noah's Ark had a total budget of $3 million. Now, the opening creation sequence was shot by photographer Ernest Haas. Now, The Bible in the Beginning premiered at Lowell State Theater on September 28, 66. The day after the premiere, Ava Gardner remarked to the media, "It's the only time in my life I actually enjoyed working," was making that picture. Now, Philip K. Schur of the LA Times wrote, "Director John Huston and his associates have wrought the motion picture that is not only magnificent and almost beyond cinematic belief, but that is also powerful, quaint, funny, thought-provoking, and of course, this beginning being the Old Testament, filled with portents of doom." Variety noted that the world's oldest story, the origins of mankind, as told in Genesis, is put upon the screen by director Huston and producer De Laurentiis with consummate skill, taste, and reverence. It also commended the lavish but always tasteful production that assaults and rewards the eye and ear with awe-inspiring realism. Now, other reviews were less positive. Now, the very grumpy Bosley Crowther of New York Times wrote that the film had extraordinary special effects, but was lacking a galvanizing feel of connection in the stories from Genesis, and simply repeats and moving pictures what have been done with still pictures over the centuries. That is hardly enough to adorn this medium and engross a sophisticated audience. Richard Coe of the Washington Post described the film as cautiously literary, impressive in some incidents, but absurd in others. The Monthly Film Bulletin opined that the 7 or 8 episodes are diffusely long, tediously slow, and depressingly reverent. The liveliest of the lot is the Ark, with Huston himself as a jolly Dr. Doolittle old Noah, and a lot of irresistibly solemn and silly animals, but even here sheer length eventually wears down one's attention. Episcopal priest and author Malcolm Boyd wrote, "His interpretation of the Holy Scripture is fundamentalistic, honoring letter while ignoring or violating spirit. John Huston got bogged down in material of the Sunday school picture book level and seems unable to gotten out of his rut. It is an overlong 174 minutes plus intermission picture, tedious and boring. In Leonard Maltin's Alton Home Video Guide, the film is given a bomb rating. Its review stating, only Huston himself as Noah escapes heavy-handedness. Definitely one time should have read the book instead." I didn't really get what these critics were talking about, because it is what it is. I mean, any movie that includes John Huston, George C. Scott, and Ava Gardner, and Stephen Boyd, and Richard Ayres, and Peter O'Toole, very sincere. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I did a previous podcast on the greatest story ever told, like Max von Sydow left me dead as Jesus. I just didn't get it. Now, the film earned rentals of $15 million in the States and Canada during its initial release, which made it the second highest grossing film of 66. The film was also the second most popular Italian production in Italy in 66, with 11.245 million admissions, just behind The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and is the 15th most popular of all time in that country. According to Fox Records, the film needed to earn nearly $27 million in rentals to break even, and it made $25.325 million worldwide as of December 11th, 1970, making a loss of $1.5 million. But of course, on DVD and a myriad of releases, it's got a lot of that money back. Now, the David D. Donatelli Awards, Best Producer winner, De Laurentiis, Cinematography, Rotono, Production Design, Mario Shira, Foreign Director, John Huston. National Board of Review Pictures, Top 10 of 66. The Silver Ribbon Awards, Best Production Design, and nominated for Cinematography, Color, Costume Design, and Best Producer, De Laurentiis again. Now, 20th Century Fox released the film on video cassettes during the later 70s, 80s, and 90s, DVD in 2002, Blu-ray discs in 2011, and online for both permanent downloading and streaming video online rentals. Now, I've seen this movie cut up into 4 or 5 episodes for what he call miniseries viewing. I think in midday matinee on the old ATV, CTV was shown there. But like I said, there's a lot going on here. But like I said, the attempt of Ben-Hur, the attempt of King of Kings and this, it's sort of like the best of the three because it's a little bit more sincere. That's it's a big it's a big thing to take on because again, John Huston doing all this major work, it drew gravitas to the movie. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, we're our Christmas or religious movie reviews. Let us know when to like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't forget, this is a genre, and like the fall of the Roman Empire. I haven't talked about that as well. There's a lot of them. Covitus, the Barabbas sequel and all that. A lot of good stuff out there. Very sincere stuff as well. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, if you like a movie and I don't like it, it has nothing to do with me. It's you that count. So if you like a certain movie, I don't like it. You're more than welcome to your opinion. It's all eye to beholder, as we say. Again, thanks for listening. Bye.